time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does, and great to have you with us on this Friday edition of the show. We got plenty to do over the next 60 minutes. We will be joined by our friend Tino Pattigno in studio today. All right, now you can pop your head in the shot. Go. There you go. There you go. There it is. Oh my God. It's the creepiest thing we've ever had in the history of this show. His head just floating into the shot. Tino Pattigno will be here later on to talk some NASCAR. We'll get some thoughts with him on the Pennzoil 400. I was out at one of the dirt tracks out there at Las Vegas Motor Speedway last night with Tino. Got some fun footage from there, so we'll have that coming up a little later on. Also, Tino's conversation with Carson Hocevar, one of the young and upcoming stars in the world of NASCAR. So Tino's conversation with Carson Hocevar coming up a little later on in the program. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online, on a couple of passings in sports this week. Junior Bridgman, who is one of the richest former NBA players you'd probably never even heard of until his passing this week. Also the passing of former NBA big man Oliver Miller. We'll talk about that with him coming up a little later on as well. But we start things out with our man Sam Yarnell, who is here as well. I said I'm stuck between Tino, who's out of the shot, and Sam, Hofstra like soulmates. They both.
And you're wearing your Hofstra blue. We love to see it. We really do.
Wasn't by design, but hey, it's how it worked out. So I'm stuck between those two today, so we'll see if I can get through the hour. But we start things out, Sam, in college basketball. What? Huh? Who? Cooper Flagg injured in the Duke Blue Devils conference quarterfinal game, ACC conference tournament quarterfinal game. You see him writhing around in pain after he rolled his ankle against Georgia Tech. He would walk off the floor, hobble off the floor, would not come back into the game. John Shire, the Duke head coach, saying it was very unlikely he would play in the team's conference semifinal game coming up later on Friday night against the University of North Carolina, which is always, it's always fun when UNC and Duke get together, and now they'll do it in the conference semifinal tournament. A lot of people are asking the question, Sam, should Cooper Flagg, and we've seen this a lot in college football, as to whether or not Cooper Flagg, who is, a lot of people feel, will be the number one pick in the NBA draft coming up later on this year, whether or not Cooper Flagg should play, not just in his team's conference semifinal game, but whether he should play in another game at all for Duke, considering what is at stake for him at the next level.
Yeah, well, listen, he's definitely not going to play in the conference tournament. I think that maybe I personally have leaped to this conclusion, but it's a conclusion that I've definitely reached. Cooper Flagg, you're not going to see him in the ACC tournament because here's the thing. It does not matter for the Duke Blue Devils. The ACC championship does not matter. Look at every set of bracketology out there. They are on the 1 seed line everywhere, and it's not low on it. They're like the number 2 overall seed behind Auburn in this tournament. This conference tournament does not matter to the Duke Blue Devils, or at least it shouldn't. Now, what we have to talk about, Jason, is what you mentioned. The much bigger question here, do we see Cooper Flagg again? I think yes, but I don't think we see him to start the NCAA tournament. There are a lot of things that contribute to this, right? And we'll get into the NIL stuff and the greater scheme of the career in a second. But just this season for Duke, listen, you've got Con Knippel, you've got a ton of weapons on that Duke team that can carry them as far as they need to go in the ACC tournament. As I mentioned, not far at all. They could lose tonight on Friday night against UNC and still be on that 1 line. They'll still beat a 16 seed in the round of 64 without Cooper Flagg, right? We've seen it happen once before, a 16 beat a 1, and UMBC is not walking through the door this year in the tournament. So they don't have to worry about the round of 64. Once we get to the round of 32, things become interesting. You're playing an 8-9 seed. I think that is where we could see Cooper Flagg return. Jason, is in the round of 32, excuse me.
college basketball, and particularly Duke and the history of that program, I think carries a lot of weight here. I think there is, and even though Mike Krzyzewski isn't even there anymore, the shadow that he still casts on the program. And I'm of the belief that if he's good, because here's the thing, it's an ankle. It's not fractured. They've already ruled out that it's a fracture. It's a sprain. So then it becomes a pain threshold sort of tolerance thing. I'm damn well sure he ain't going to play tonight unless there's some miracle of medicine.
No, yeah, definitely.
I don't think he's playing tonight. But I wouldn't be shocked if we saw him in the conference championship game, because those things that you attach to your history and your legacy at a program like Duke, they matter. And it's not like he's a star on a sort of fledgling college basketball program, and the next level obviously means more than that. I think the weight and the gravitas of a Duke Blue Devil men's basketball program carries more weight. It would not shock me if we saw him in that conference championship game. I definitely think we'll see him in the NCAA tournament, because there's also, look, we see this with Shedeur Sanders going on right now in college. In the moment throughout the college football season, all we heard about was how great Shedeur Sanders was and how he was definitely going to be the number one pick. Well, then time wore off. The season ended, and time wore off, and some of that shine wore off. And you start to hear people questioning, is he really that good? Is he really worth spending the top overall pick or even being the top quarterback in the draft? Well, that's going to happen when this NCAA season ends for Cooper Flagg, too. And there are going to be people that start to question whether or not, is Cooper Flagg really the best overall player in this draft? And then that starts to sort of creep in. I don't think he's going to want to miss more time. If it's Cooper Flagg's decision, here's my thing. If it's Cooper Flagg's decision, I think Cooper Flagg's going to play as soon as he is physically cleared to play. That's my thought on it.
So you mentioned a couple of things, and I got to get to them quick. But the Mike Krzyzewski thing is interesting, because I heard someone in the media right after the injury happened say, well, if Krzyzewski was still there, do you think that they'd just shut him down for the year and ask him to come back next year?
Wow.
Because that is the Mike Krzyzewski thing and the prestige of Duke. I understand the theory. Here's why it won't happen. Look at the 2026 draft class. It is loaded. Cooper Flagg would be the 3rd or 4th pick overall at best in 2026. This is his year. He's got to go, and he's got to be 100% before he shows face on national television again.
Yeah, I do agree with the idea that he ain't coming back next year. It's just not. This draft was made for him to be number one. We're coming back. More to do on Sports Wrap. We welcome you back to this Friday edition of the show. Coming up in 10 minutes, Robert Littal, Black Sports Online founder, on the passings of Junior Bridgman and Oliver Miller. Later in the show, Tino Pattigno will swing by, get some thoughts with him on this week's NASCAR race in Las Vegas, where we actually reside and host this show from. Also, his conversation with NASCAR youngster Carson Hocevar. That coming up as well. We had Bubba Wallace on the show yesterday, Carson Hocevar on the show today, and we let Tino handle that conversation, because if Carson Hocevar had been serving me my Starbucks drink, I probably wouldn't have known who he was. So, thought it was best to have Tino handle that interview. Sam Yarnell is here. I know this is a good topic. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I know this is a good topic because we literally just spent an entire break talking about the topic. That's how I know it's a good topic, because we were debating it during the break before we even brought it to you, the viewers. Finding out who the true MVPs are. I have always been a fan of the idea that you don't sometimes learn who MVPs are until they're not playing. And the latest case in point is the Lakers, who are without LeBron James, obviously, as they continue to get through this at least 2-week stretch without him. He's suffering from a groin strain. And you watch the Lakers go into Brooklyn and lay an egg and lose against a Brooklyn Nets team that should be beatable without LeBron James. And then you watch the Lakers go into Milwaukee last night and lose another game. This one to a Milwaukee Bucks team who couldn't defend against a CYO team. And you start to wonder aloud, again, as much as we always think, and Sam and I are of this mindset, of how underappreciated LeBron James is sometimes, that you learn about his value. You learn about his value when he's not on the floor. And right now you're seeing that with this Lakers team that's struggling without him, Sam.
Yeah, you are. I do think this Lakers team is an interesting example because this Lakers team is unique in that they are constructed 100% and wholeheartedly around one player and propelling that player to win another championship, right? And that is LeBron James. So yes, in that instance, this is more than likely to happen, right? And I do think that this is something, though, Jason, that we see a ton throughout sport. And obviously, we were just talking about a bazillion different potential examples. But the one that came to mind for me was Joel Embiid. And I'll stay in basketball for this. And look at how bad the 76ers are right now. And I think that maybe Joel Embiid is a little bit different than LeBron in that the entire Sixers aren't constructed around Joel Embiid. They have Tyrese Maxey, they have Paul George. They were constructed around that big three, but the big three should be more able to lose one game and remain closer to the top than the bottom. In the Lakers case, obviously you've still got Luka, but that's very much proving not enough. And in that ilk, you are very much seeing that at age 40, what is he, 40 now? LeBron James is still a top 5 player in the league.
And I'll also tell you, when Anthony Davis goes out, when he was still there and it was just LeBron could still carry that team and get enough victories. Right. Not that they'd win every game. So it also goes the other way that when LeBron's on his own, you can just win games on LeBron, which kind of proves my point. The reason I didn't bring up Jalen Brunson in this conversation is the Knicks win when Jalen Brunson's on the floor and they win when he's not on the floor. The next man up mentality, the way that franchise and the way that roster is constructed with, only 7 or 8 players playing anyway. I have a couple of other examples I want to throw at you and get your guys' thoughts on them. We'll do that coming up in a moment after a word from our friends over at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt in over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months. What could be better than that? Saving you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you could save right now by calling 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362 with our friends from Credit Associates, or just scan the QR code below. Mike Trout is another one I look at. You look at the litany of injuries that guy has suffered over the last several years, and every time he goes down, it feels like that franchise goes down with him. That's one that I'll throw out from baseball. Could throw out Aaron Judge too.
Yeah, Aaron Judge is interesting, but the Yankees are just always doomed to fail. So one that I will say, though, that just came to mind, and it's kind of different because it's a pitcher, so he only starts every 5th day. But Jacob deGrom, think about how good the Mets were when Jacob deGrom was healthy. And I know that was a crazy staff, right? The one good year that Matt Harvey had, right? Yep. And you had Noah Syndergaard there and Zach Wheeler. That was a loaded staff. But when Jacob deGrom was hurt, they were a completely different team.
Syndergaard, that whole rotation though was that was an electric factory, man.
It was. It really was.
I'll throw another one at you. I'll say Tua. Say what you want about the Dolphins and the lack of postseason success. When Tua is not in that lineup, and you go from Tua to Skylar Thompson, who just signed somewhere, by the way, you go from Tua to Skylar Thompson, and you see the difference. You see the drop-off, that you can't just plug in anybody. Some teams have systems that are built for certain players, and the Mike McDaniel system that they have there in Miami was made with Tua in mind. And the moment he leaves, that thing falls apart, Sam. So I'll throw Tua in as another example.
I think Tua is a good example. Thinking about because it's hard to think about non-quarterbacks, but Tyreek Hill too. As much as that team relied on him,
Yeah.
the weeks that he missed, not to say the offense looked completely able when he wasn't there, but they were just riddled by something else when he wasn't there.
Yeah, that's a good one, too. And we were going through a bunch of them. Which one did you throw out, Tina? Steph Curry. Curry's a good one. Tino's off camera. He'll be here for NASCAR a little later on. Oh, Christian McCaffrey's a good one, too. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's a good one. No, you learn about it. Again, I say it all the time. It's not just the MVPs when they're on the field or on the court or on the ice. It's the guys that you miss. Lamar Jackson. He hasn't he hasn't missed a ton of time, though.
The Snoop Huntley season.
Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, it's fair. We'll let you all ponder that on your own, and then we'll come back. Robert Littal will join us next. All right, Sports Wrap continues on this Friday, and if it's a Friday on this show, it can only mean one thing. If I had the Law and Order thing that goes dun dun, that's where I would have played it. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online founder, hanging out.
You know it's been hailing in Southern California.
Hailing?
Hailing.
Is Dwayne the Rock Johnson gonna swoop in and rescue you folks in LA from
these segments really good? I don't know how many more we have of them.
From the incoming apocalypse that's coming. God, you guys, terrible. The forest fires. Now you got hail. Sharknado will be coming soon. My God. Really? Hailing in
Hailing.
They actually had to cancel. It rained enough yesterday. Not a ton, but it rained enough that they actually had to cancel dirt track racing last night out here for this at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So yeah, there's a weird weather system sort of moving through the country. Those of you in the South and the Midwest are probably feeling it now. Hopefully, you're all safe wherever you are, because I know there's a high possibility of severe weather in the Midwest and South. So we hope everybody obviously stays safe. I want to talk to you about two things this week. And one of them I told you about earlier in the week, and that was the passing of Junior Bridgman, who, I got to be honest, I didn't know a ton about until after he passed away, and I went and read up and did some homework. I mean, you think about what a lot of NBA players become after their career. And some guys, it goes off the rails and it goes horribly bad. And some guys, Junior Bridgman was the first. And he wasn't a great player. He wasn't a Hall of Fame player or anything like that. But what he did in terms of making himself a self-made sort of businessman, after a nice collegiate career, a great collegiate career, in fact, and then, having several years in the NBA, it's really an amazing story that I hope more people learn about now, sadly after he's passed away, but that more people learn about Junior Bridgman.
Yeah, that's the saddest part about it, is that now it's coming to light after he's passed away. And I've seen players and athletes who probably should know who he is. It's wow, I didn't know about this guy. I didn't know he owned how many Wendy's, he owned how many businesses, he had his hand in this and that. I didn't, if you were in the Milwaukee, area, maybe you knew more. But man, it seems like these are the type of guys that we should promote more. We spend so much time promoting, guys that really aren't that great of people. When you have a guy right over our nose that, if I had, how they always say, would you spend, would you want $500,000 or dinner with Jay-Z? I would want dinner with this guy. To tell me the secrets, and I hope more athletes look into it. Now, unfortunately that he passed, but because the NFL stands for not for long. The NBA, MLB, all of these sports. About the Patrick Mahomes, about the LeBron James, but you don't know about the journeyman that only plays 3 or 4 years.
And I don't want to crush the NBA Players Association or anything like that, or the league when I say this. But you almost wonder if there is a system in place, and how robust that system is to try and help players. Hey, when your career's done and you've amassed now these millions of dollars, because NBA players make a ton of money, even the low-level bench guys. I mean, we see what these guys make. I wonder if there is that sort of infrastructure in place to help them become the next Junior Bridgman.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's one of those type of things. Is the infrastructure in place and they're just choosing to ignore it? Or if it's something like, hey, once you're not useful to me on the court or on the field, you're on your own. It may be a little bit, of both. I've heard from, NFL players and NBA players, MLB players, hockey players that, especially, the ones that came in young and burned out, I wish I would have had, a little more of a support system. So maybe that's something that, we should work on. It should be a lesson that we could take from it. What a great legacy to have, that when you pass away, all of these people are saying these amazing things about you, and you did it all under the radar and very low key.
And by the way, case in point, Steven Adams, who I didn't even know was still in the league until he got into a fight with Mason Plumlee the other night. Steven Adams makes $12.5 million a year. Yeah. And he's a role player on the Rockets. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like you sit there and say, I mean, where are we spending our money here? Like, what are we doing with our money after our career that so many players find themselves broke making poor decisions?
In the immortal words of Patrick Ewing, we make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money.
Very true. It was sad to learn that Oliver Miller passed away this week.
Yeah, big old.
Yeah, he was in his late 50s. I think he had cancer, if I'm not mistaken. And Oliver Miller passed away. And, people forget, in his career at Arkansas, how talented he was, and then in the NBA. And so much attention was focused on what Oliver Miller wasn't, that he didn't look like your prototypical NBA player. He was heavy. Let's be honest. He was overweight. He had weight problems. He had issues controlling, his weight and getting it under control while he played in the league. But people seem to forget sometimes. And again, we only remember these things after people pass away, which makes me incredibly sad that we don't celebrate people when they're alive, but after they're gone, we give them their flowers when they're unable to receive them. But Oliver Miller, a lot of people forget this guy was a good player.
Yeah, it's one of those type of things when you see people pass away that you vividly remember watching. Kind of touches your own mortality. It lets you know that you're getting up there a bit. A lot of times when I see the kids of the players that are going on, and it's funny, we always talk about all these players being podcasters and things like that. Sometimes I sit back and like, man, there's Carmelo Anthony and Dwayne Wade. They're doing a podcast. I'm like, they were just, the Dwayne Wade was just on the big, three, and Carmelo was just, getting 56. It just kind of touches you in the sense that, our era, so to speak, is moving on, and it's a different era now.
I didn't bring it up in the show today, but John Feinstein passing away, and he's not necessarily one of our contemporaries. He was in his late 60s, and you and I are in our mid to late 40s. But John Feinstein, one of the amazing sports writers of all time, passing away unexpectedly this week, and it does.
You gotta live life to the fullest. Is one
it really
thing I've
is
learned,
true. Yeah.
Is that whatever you want to do in life, if you have the opportunity, just do it. Don't think about it. Just do it, because it's not guaranteed. For the next day. And then these individuals, thankfully, had things in their career and their life that that people are speaking fondly on them.
Got to make every day count. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online founder. I always appreciate you, my friend. Make every day of your weekend count. We'll see you back here next week, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That means being on the couch. Some Popeyes.
With some Popeyes. Oh, that'll make it shorter. We're coming back.
Tell my wife.
Welcome back to this Friday edition of Sports Wrap. All right, let's talk NASCAR. With the Pennzoil 400 in Las Vegas this weekend. Had Bubba Wallace on yesterday's show. How about second-year driver Carson Hocevar hanging out with us for today's show, chatting with our very own Tino Pattigno about life racing in the number 77 Chevy.
The biggest thing has been your fast start throughout this season thus far. Aggressiveness has been, part of the headlines too, but that's something I gotta tell you I've loved to see from a race car driver perspective, and something that reminds me of a young Joey Logano. To see past champions kind of be in the similar spot that you were in after Atlanta, contention to have that race win, does that give you any confidence to continue to sort of be yourself on the racetrack?
Yeah, I mean, you were fast. You have a shot to win a race. You don't want to change anything because you almost just did it. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun and enjoy it. And yeah, it's cool to at least just be in that spot that you kind of where everybody's paying attention. And we've been fast. We haven't had 100% the luck. You get tore up at Phoenix, but you qualify third. You run top 10 in the first stage, and then just get torn up. You can't really help that. And Coda, you get put back, but our cars have been really fast, so that's part of that matters.
And I think the biggest thing too, right? It's your second year now full time in the Cup Series. What has that process been like, not only from year 1 to year 2, but also going from the Truck Series to the Cup Series? I feel like a lot of people see the young drivers struggle at times. I feel like you're excelling now in this time period of your career. What are your thoughts on that as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt pretty comfortable in a Cup car, so yeah, I don't know 100% know why, but it's really worked out that I've always been just pretty comfortable in the Cup car right away. I don't know if the truck helped and everything, but just a lot of feel like prep before I got ever to get in a Cup car, and it just kind of fits my driving style a lot, and sort of just really fit the next gen style car that I feel like able to take advantage of pretty well so far.
Awesome. Another thing too is having new teammates on Spire Motorsports this year. You got Justin Haley, Michael McDowell, and yourself being a part of that team. Has that been something for you that you look at with those guys, your relationship with them? How have they impacted you throughout the season or even the offseason as well, gelling as a group? You put it as the new era of Spire Motorsports. What's that been like with those guys part of the team now?
Yeah, I mean it's a lot different. Obviously, they've been around for a while, and last year I had a rookie teammate that was kind of like a half teammate. He was also a Trackhouse, and Corey, was still just trying to find his own path. So, yeah, it's been a different dynamic, I think, for all three of us. That I think we're still working through. What that working relationship and everything's going to 100% look like. But it's been, I feel like pretty well received so far.
And as the team as a whole brings cars to the racetrack, they've been fast. Like you mentioned, we're seeing them qualify well. At Phoenix, like you mentioned, all 3 drivers in the top 10. Obviously not the result or days you guys had wanted, at the end of the race, but coming to the track with speed, how important is that for you guys as a group? And are there now tracks that you're circling, hey, we can win here, hey, we can have a top 10 here at these types of racetracks? Or is it more so just focusing on, bringing speed to the racetrack before looking at any specific tracks in general?
Yeah, I think it's just more just trying to be fast everywhere than just one specific. I think it's been the biggest thing so far is just focusing in on that and just locking in of just trying to just show up with the best race car we can do every week.
Awesome. I think another thing too that, I've mentioned or seen out of your driving style, being aggressive, but also understanding, when to give and when to take, and really utilizing, that mentality on the racetrack for you specifically. Is there anything that you've learned, whether it's been this past couple of weeks or throughout the offseason, that you've been trying to apply to yourself? Any personal goals that you have throughout the season that you're trying to sort of check off as we go and continue on in the Cup Series?
I mean, it's just so early still. Ultimately we want to just put ourselves in a spot to make the playoffs. So that's be able to get stage points and win races or be up front. Phoenix kind of hurt, but look, Atlanta and Coda and Phoenix, I think we've scored stage points quite a bit so far. That's really helped us out, stay up there. So, yeah, you just got to, now just be consistent and just put together a really good stretch of races. And I think we're, becoming fast enough or put ourselves in a spot that we can do that.
Is there, I know you're, just want to be fast, but is there a goal in the standings wise that you sort of want to be at towards the end of the season? Whether it's, like you said, making the playoffs, or even would you be satisfied with the top 20, and a bunch of top 10s and 15s in there as well? Do you have sort of goals in that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, the only goal for us is to be 16th or higher, because that means you made the playoffs. So, that's ultimately the spot, the ticket is to make the playoffs. And, that would be, I think, really huge for us.
All right, it makes sense there too. And last minute with you here. I want to add in on a sort of fun question. It's the last lap. You're racing for the win. You against 3 other drivers from any NASCAR era. Who are you picking that you want to race against for that win, and at what track would this be at for you?
It would, I think it'd be cool, Dale Senior, Jeff Gordon, Tim Richmond, at Brickyard 400 would be the coolest one.
There you go. All right, that's a good answer. I'm interested to see what other drivers think about that. But I appreciate you joining us on. Is there anything we can look forward to, maybe content-wise, throughout the season from you? I know you've been a streamer guy as well, racing content from you there, social media content-wise. Any other things you got coming out on those platforms?
I don't know. I always just think of stuff off the whim, so I don't have anything planned. I think the most fun you have is when no good story started with, well, we planned to do this, and this is how it happened. So I always just kind of take that approach with anything.
Some thoughts with the second-year driver, Carson Hocevar, and our man, Tino Pattigno. Speaking of Tino, he'll be back on the other side. We'll preview the Pennzoil 400 with him next. Odds and ends will wrap it up in about 10 minutes. So you heard what Carson Hocevar had to say to our man Tino Pattigno, and now here he is himself. Man, the myth, the legend, Tino Pattigno. And he's actually live in studio. One day there will be a trivia question. First in-studio guest, it'll be Tino Pattigno. Hold on a second. Are you still wearing the wrist brace from the dirt race last night?
Oh yeah. We're always locked in. Whenever I want to go back, I can get in. Great memories. Awesome time at the track with Jason Page. And
you're still wearing the bracelet. I tore it off last night. I'm like, if I go back, I'm just gonna go get a new one. I didn't want to have the same one. For people who are wondering what we're talking about, last night we went and checked out the high limit sprint cars. They have this dirt racing that was going on out there, and I had never been to one before. Tino actually hadn't been to one either, from what I recall. And we went and stood over at turn 1. And if you watch real carefully, you will actually see dirt raining down on Tino and I as we decided to take our cameras over there. And I got to be honest, I don't know if I'd ever go back to another dirt race because I don't need dirt raining down on me. I mean, you can't sit in those seats down there without getting dirt just rained upon you the entire time. The dirt race for last night was canceled, the high limit race, because of the weather. There was some rain and there was wind, and they were just having all sorts of issues. So Tino and I didn't get to experience the full effect of what the sprint races were like, but it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, awesome. Hey, it wasn't just dirt, Jason. It was dirt from Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, some of the best sprint car racers in the world. Really great experience. And shame it got postponed, but we'll be back for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely go and check that out again. All right, Pennzoil 400, Carson Hocevar you heard from. We had Bubba Wallace on the show yesterday. We had Kyle Larson on the show last week. How does this race shape up in your eyes?
Well, I think it's going to be another battle between Christopher Bell as he's going for his 4th consecutive NASCAR Cup Series win. No one's done that since Jimmy Johnson in 2007. But in order for him to do that, he's going to have to beat Kyle Larson. And that's the type of showdown and matchup we want to see. The two best of the drivers in the sport right now going head to head. Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell both have 3 top 5s in the last 4 Las Vegas races. So this is a track that suits their driving style. Intermediate, 1.5 miles. It's a fast racetrack. But Kyle Larson has the difference between Bell and him in this matchup at Vegas. 2 wins. 378 laps led within those last 4 races at this track.
Yeah, Larson has really been fantastic at this track. He loves this track. We talked to him about that last week on the show. What in particular, when you think about what Bell has done this year, what in particular sort of stands out to you in terms of the way he's done it? I know the different tracks, and we can get into that, but what in particular has made this run so special for him?
Well, like you mentioned, it is the different tracks he's doing it on, so the fact that team can stay versatile. But I do want to go back and sort of think about how on those tracks he was fast last year and in recent times as well. So to see that, I think, has been the biggest key for me the fact that they show up to the track with the same speed they've had in the past, and he's still able to execute that same speed, is still the best or most speed out of all other drivers in the field when they unload and get it ready for a race weekend. So to me, that's the most important part. The speed they keep bringing to the track is consistent and faster than everyone else.
Just to go back to the Carson Hocevar conversation, it's funny. We've talked to 3 different drivers here over the last couple of weeks, obviously with Kyle Larson last week, and now Bubba Wallace and Carson Hocevar. When you look at Hocevar, the 3 wide in Atlanta, we showed that during the conversation with him. When you sort of look at, where this young driver is and sort of, where he's positioned right now and some of the things you talked about with him, what's your takeaway in terms of how quickly he could reach the potential we think he has?
If he learns from his mistakes and his aggressive driving and really hones in and controls that to benefit him on the racetrack, he has a chance to become a champion. Joey Logano was in the same position as Carson Hocevar, aggressive young driver, making headlines for those reasons, and Joey Logano turns out to be a 3-time champion. Other, names we can bring up as well, Martin Truex Jr. got into it, Tony Stewart, Ryan Blaney, and Jimmy Johnson. I actually made a video about this on my social media platforms when this happened with Carson Hocevar at Atlanta, and he was, criticized by other drivers and the media and fans of the sport. If he can lock in, if you could say, and really control his emotions and his driving style out there, he has enough potential to be a great champion, I believe.
Give me a thought here on a couple of guys. Bubba Wallace, 33-1 to win this race. When we were in the car yesterday driving out to the track, you even said, he's a guy that you think could certainly be in the mix. You look at the favorites in this race right now, Larson at plus 450, Byron at 600, Bell at 600. It's amazing Bell isn't the favorite when he's won 3 of the last 4 races. In the last minute or so here, give me a sense for what you're thinking from a betting standpoint.
Well, like you mentioned, Bubba Wallace, I do feel like has a good shot. I look at him more in the top 10 market. He's plus money right now. I love Bubba plus money for a top 10 each and every week. He's listed at that price. But his teammate in Tyler Reddick has been fast at Las Vegas. Should have won this race last year if it wasn't for a pit road mishap. Slower stop than Kyle Larson. That's all it's going to take for him to lose in that matchup. He's plus 750 alongside William Byron, another driver who I believe those two will have the most closing line value heading into this weekend before practice and qualifying. I'd put, my units around there to look at them because we'll see that price go down where we see Larson and Bell. If they qualify well, probably we'll still see that same number. And we have to mention Kyle Busch. The winless streak is over 60 races at this point, but this is home track, plus 1,600. Seeing him around there, I love the value for Kyle Busch. His cars have been running fast, and he may be able to get that winless drought ended at his home track in Las Vegas.
Forgetting my mic. In the last 10 seconds, pick me a winner.
Oh, I think I'm going to have to go with Kyle Larson in this one. I think the dirt racing, bringing him back over here to Vegas, the track that he loves, he can beat Christopher Bell.
Tino Pattigno, ladies and gentlemen. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for another week. Don't forget, SportsWrap Weekends, available wherever you watch this show, usually. If it's not available in your local station that you're watching us on now, make sure to search around your dial. You might find it on another channel. Not that I want you to turn off this channel, because we love this channel, but, sometimes you gotta look for the weekend show if you want it. Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the podcast, available Monday through Friday on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Go and check that out. You can listen to us in audio form. You could also watch us on YouTube Monday through Friday, also over on Spotify. Go and check that out as well. And without any further delay, time for some odds and ends presented by our friends at Credit Associates. $10,000 or more in credit card debt. Who likes that? In over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades, and you can do it with just one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can get your debt resolved in as little as 24 to 36 months. What's that going to do? It's going to save you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you could save right now Call this number, 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362 with our friends from Credit Associates, or just scan the QR code below. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. By the time people see this, round 2 of the Players' Championship will likely be over, but still we have our obligation to at least bring up the Players' Championship. At the time we put this together, taped this, how about this? Minwoo Lee, JJ Spawn, Rory McIlroy, all 10 under par out at the Players' Championship. Those guys are tearing up that course through the first couple of days of this tournament, Sam. And we'll see how that shapes up as we get through the weekend. Not a lot of wind early in the tournament. There may be some more on the weekend.
Right. I'll get through this quick. I know we got to get to the football, but
Yep.
Yes, that's what they do on the Florida Swing. My gosh, they always, especially these tournaments that are held at the same course every year, like this one, they just tear it up. They know what's coming. As predicted, if you bet the under on final round score for the winner, congratulations.
What happened to Michael?
Or on total score for the winner, excuse me.
What happened to my guy Michael Kim? Not doing much, huh? I don't see him. I actually have to do a search. Oh, there he is. He's +3 after his first round. Come on, Michael Kim. I talk you up on the show. Let's put it together here. NFL, Sam Yarnell. DeMarcus Lawrence has raised the ire of some people, I guess you could say, with some comments. So he goes to the Seattle Seahawks, no longer a Dallas Cowboy, obviously teammates with Micah Parsons while he was there. And we had a situation where DeMarcus Lawrence addressing the media, somebody interviewing him from the Seahawks, undoubtedly, and listen to what DeMarcus Lawrence said, particularly on the back end of these comments. Listen.
You know, Dallas is my home. I made my home there. You know, my family lives there. You know, I'm forever going to be there. But, you know, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah. We here.
We're here. DeMarcus Lawrence, welcome to the Seahawks. Thanks.
Wow. Well, that'll go over like a fart in church, especially if you're a Cowboys fan.
Or if you're a Cowboys player.
So what happened with him? And so Micah Parsons responded. Tell people what happened. This high school stuff that's going on.
Some fan account found this clip, tweeted it. Micah Parsons found that fan account, quote tweeted the clip, and I'll read you what he wrote here on Twitter, on X, formerly known as Twitter. X, the everything app. It's all happening over on X.
All right.
Micah Parsons, this what rejection and envy look like! Exclamation point. This some clown stuff! Expletive! Exclamation point. Clown emoji. DeMarcus Lawrence then saw that tweet and responded to Micah Parsons.
Oh no, you
on
didn't!
X, the everything app.
Oh no,
it's all
you
happening
didn't!
on X.
Yeah.
He said, calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. Devil smiling emoji. So yeah, body bag. 911, hello. I'd like to report a murder. That was crazy. DeMarcus Lawrence absolutely putting Micah Parsons in his place. Not even 2 feet out the door, and this guy's already firing shots across the bow.
And you know what? He's 100% right. You can't. You can be mad about it if you're Micah Parsons, but you got to kind of take your medicine because it's sort of true. Not even sort of. It's a lot of true. Speaking of the Cowboys and Seahawks, Cooper Kupp thought to be, the leading places for him to land. The Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks. So, we've all tied it together.
Changes that? I don't know. If I'm looking at places and I see these two guys going at it, I'm staying far away from both of these places.
I don't think you care. Hey, DeMarcus, listen, if you're Cooper Kupp, you just want somebody to sign you. You're on the back nine now. You just take. I said it. First time you marry for love, second time you marry for money. If you're Cooper Kupp, this time you're marrying for money. First time for love, next time for money. It's going to do it for us. We're out of time. Thanks to Carson Hocevar, Tino Pattigno, you, Sam Yarnell, Robert Littal, all of you for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.